the meeting of Wednesday, December 7th, Planning Board of Town of Newbury. For those who are watching, those in the audience, my name is John Weiss. To my left,
George Morris.
Jim Robinson.
John O'Connell.
Martha Taylor, Town Planner.
Pete Pecos.
Peter is the associate member. So the meeting minutes of the 28th, and are these the ones I just noted to you?
I think so.
Yeah, so the only change on this was the motion on page 2 at the bottom. A motion was made by E. Mitchell and approved should be changed to seconded by J. Robinson. And does anyone have any other notes or comments on these
Yeah,
minutes?
reviewed and no comments.
Okay.
No comments?
So who votes on this is George and John and Jim. So, okay. So can I have a motion on to
I
accept?
want to make a motion now, please.
I move that we approve the minutes of the September 28th.
Can I have a second? Okay, second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I didn't do it. Okay, and that, a question I have on this was this status on the historic house, and we chatted before the meeting, and it does appear that we need to work on this after the first of the year. And I think that's the only question I have. Oh, no, I do have another one, and that is that it indicates that Angelo is supposed to be doing monthly reports. Are we getting monthly reports from Angelo?
We haven't yet.
So maybe depending, it's in the notes.
Yeah.
And so you haven't submitted any yet? No?
Who's going to do that for you? Williams is part of making the inspections? They're going to do it.
All right, so, yeah, that's indicated in your note to us, that you, with the engineer?
Yes.
So, all right, we'll maybe handle that when we get to your issue. Okay, thank you. And then the minutes of October the 5th, I have no comments on them.
No comment.
Any
Can't
comments?
approve them.
Yeah, and not enough people to.
Who's
approve,
not?
so
We need
Elizabeth's not here.
Elizabeth's not here, so forget that. Okay. So the appearances, the agenda, first two appearances will not be here tonight. So the Governor's Academy project and the school by Chris Horan. They indicated they want to come back when?
At the next planning board meeting.
We need to work on that, whether or not we want to meet, whether or not we want to meet on the 21st or just carry it forward.
Not a good.
There's a 3 votes right here, so. That probably will then be January 4th. And
If it's.
but we'll handle that later officially, all right?
Yeah.
Good, depending on how these meetings go. Okay, Mark. Now, we got your letter, and I know that this discussions have been going back and forth between your attorney and our attorney, and apparently it's more work to be done. That's what we've been told.
On the property there?
On the language that we need in order to make this switch of the lots.
This is, I haven't had a chance to talk to Mark about this.
This is just information we've gotten from our attorney.
Actually,
And-
there's a-
Okay, so here's your letter. And then this, something was sent to our attorney, Ginny. Ginny spoke with your, I don't even know who it is.
I could probably.
Why don't you
follow.
summarize it for the board?
So I had a conversation yesterday with Mark DePiero and his attorney, Mark Griffin, to try to figure out exactly, if the board were to approve this request, exactly what steps would need to be taken, what documentation would be needed.
Mhm.
And I spoke again with, and wanted to make sure, first of all, that the restrictive covenant had been recorded and the 2 previous lot releases, which they had been.
It's restricted for lot 6.
Well, the original lot restriction on all of the
On all,
lots.
on all of the
And then
properties.
the first release, which was for 6 lots, and then the second release, which was for lot 7.
Right.
And Mark sent those to me this morning confirming that they had been recorded.
Mhm.
And then he and I talked about what might be the appropriate language to sort of re-encumber
Right,
lot 7.
lot 7.
And release lot 6. And we did, he sent me this afternoon, basically a rescission of a certificate of performance for lot 7.
Uh-huh.
And so I sent that over to Ginny for review. We were finally able to connect at about 5:30 and had a long discussion about this, and I haven't been able to share it with anybody so far, but she's, this is a mechanism that we, as a town, have not gone through, and neither of the attorneys
so-
has actually dealt with it
Okay.
either. And so Ginny's feeling was that without some sort of additional documentation, she said real estate law, and the planning board can't arbitrarily encumber property that's not encumbered, even if the applicant, the developer is requesting it. And so there needs to be some additional documentation, some sort of a contract laying out the background of why this is being requested.
Right, that makes
And all
sense.
of that, so.
Yeah, so the town has a history and a story
Right,
about why it's doing it.
right.
Okay.
And again, because this is being initiated by the applicant or developer,
Right.
she feels it's appropriate for them to do it, and then she will review it in a timely fashion. And
So is this new to you?
Yeah, this is a real problem. I mean, this is a $600,000 lot sale tomorrow morning. So, and I've been over this now for a few days. And I even mentioned that I would take, it's all cash, there's no bank, so take the 600 and hold on to it. So now you got lot 6, and you got lot 7. So you're sitting on $1.2 million. But I really want the sale to happen. So I've been over this for the last few days, and up until 4 o'clock today, I heard nothing. So it's a little bit disturbing at this point. It's a little difficult, because I jumped every hoop there was, and I was all over Mark Griffin about this. And I thought everything was in place, so it's a very difficult situation.
Well, I'm not sure, but
I don't,
I'm not sure that Mark was fully aware of everything what I've been told.
so again, it's just, I probably have 40 grand of work left, right? There's nothing left over, the place is pristine.
Yeah.
And I also brought all the sales of the lots over there, they're all 600 apiece. I have 5 sales if you're showing what these things are worth. And I might have 40 grand left, and if you guys want to multiply it times 2, it could be 80 grand. I just wanted to free up one lot and take another.
Right.
It's that, it just seems to be very difficult here that we can't get that done.
Would a passbook in lieu of that, a lot, work? That's money,
Money.
Yeah.
What we're talking about surety,
Okay.
okay? So money is,
And what
money
he's
is
saying
a
is that
lot,
he-
actually is better.
I can give you 100 grand or something, I guess, but, there's 25,000 bucks of paving, and we got some plants out back and an as-built.
Martha, what's your discussion with Ginny been on this?
Well,
In terms of these kinds of issues, not so much the technical things of getting it done, but the business terms. Is she opined about that?
in terms of whether the board
Right.
could do this or
Right.
not. And when we first spoke about it, again, there was no precedent that we have to do it, so she reached out to Mark to discuss it with him.
Mark
Griffin.
Oh, Mark Griffin, okay.
And then I know that Mark got in touch with Mark DePiero about it. So there's, there has been discussion back and forth, but there was nothing, nothing saying this is the way you need to do it, these are the documents that you need to have. We've been sort of trying to figure that out. So, not sure
At a
if that
minimum,
answered
you would
your
need an
question.
escrow.
Well, and there are 2 ways, and I talked to Mark about this. Probably the simplest way would be to provide a passbook or, cash with the schedule of values and do it that way rather than trying to re-encumber a lot that had already been released.
Oh, well, I guess that's what you're just suggesting, and I hadn't thought of that as an option until,
I'll give you a passbook for 100 or something, that's way too much, but it's okay.
I'd do that.
Yeah.
There's nothing left.
It's the easiest way to do it.
Cash is one hell of a lot better than a lot that we gotta go
The
build.
lot that we're gonna have a problem with anyway.
Yeah,
All right,
In
why
2
don't we do
weeks,
that?
we should have that done, and I may have the schedule of values in 2 weeks, you know, with engineers, as-built, and Hancock, they're finicky, they drive us crazy, so I don't know if I can, but 100 will sit there until it's done, right?
Well, why don't we,
There's some documentation that has to go with it.
there's some documentation that's gotta come with
What
it.
time is your closing?
Is it really tomorrow or is it Friday?
It's really long, and they wouldn't do it on Friday, so,
So is there a time tomorrow?
I think it's 11, but I'm not positive.
At least you can talk with Jenny tomorrow morning. Get to her somehow, or Paul, somebody, and just say, what do we need for documentation?
To take $100,000 and forget about the switching of the lots, and let's come up with some language, and then Mark can sign it, and Mike can sign it, we'll do it.
I mean, ordinarily, it would be a schedule of values that would go with it, showing exactly the value of what remains to be done.
But it's true
that
that we
would be
don't,
the normal practice,
Right.
schedule of values, we review it,
we
approve
don't,
it presumably, and,
and I haven't walked there in a year, but I mean, I agree with you, there's not a lot,
It's final paving, and
yeah.
some plants out back, and an as-built by Hancock to check the accuracy, but they checked it all the way through anyways, but
Yeah.
now they have to do a formal as-built.
Well, actually, the as-built would be done by Steve, right, and reviewed it by.
Yeah, as-built, and they review
reviewed
it
by
outside,
Hancock.
right.
So,
And they review it.
what do you guys wanna do?
can we approve it in principle and leave it to?
Yeah, leave it.
I'd leave it
Mark,
to
figure
work out the details,
work out
I'd
the
have to
details.
sign it like on Friday or something like that, Mark signs it, and we'll move forward with $100,000 kept as a passport.
We're gonna help in any way we can, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't wanna screw you,
So I'll be able to close tomorrow, you said?
I think so.
Okay.
Now, the issue.
And I can have the check if you want, the 600 brought to Martha to sit. Mark will bring it, Griffin if
I
she
don't know if
texts.
that's necessary.
I mean, I'm just trying
I
to,
just wanna get it done.
And the issue is
I
that,
just don't have the documentation done.
Yeah, actually, more important than that 600 to us is the documentation, making sure that we've done it correctly, to be honest.
I just want to close, so whatever.
Yeah, so
it
you go
takes.
ahead and close.
well, the issue is that without the release on the lot, the covenant, basically, the release basically says that it's relieved, the restrictions on it are for sale and building, so it can't be sold without having the restrictions released.
And who releases that?
So
The board.
The
We
planning
do,
board does,
yeah.
but without having some surety.
In hand.
In
Yeah.
hand.
So I can go, can we get the surety tomorrow and I'll sign this tomorrow?
If the-
Does the whole board have to sign it?
They can authorize you to,
We can approve it in principle.
right, you can authorize,
Remember
this has to be notarized anyway, so you wouldn't decide,
Okay.
or can authorize you to sign it, you could sign it, needs to be notarized,
Okay,
but we would need to have a check in hand before this actually gets
Release a lot.
released.
Sure.
And it doesn't need to be a passbook, it should be a check that would be placed in an interest-bearing escrow account.
I mean the
The
100,000.
100,000, but it needs to be, I think there should be something, even if it's not prepared by your engineer, there should be something indicating the value of the work remaining to be done that goes with it for the board. I mean, you're kind of at
You
risk right now.
you can do your best estimate at this point in time.
I'll write it that you keep 7 too, at the minute. I'll sign something that says, keep 7, I'll give you 100 in the morning. I'm trying to just overly, just reach over here a bit,
But
so you guys are safe.
the board can't keep 7 because they don't have 7, and they can't, without additional documentation, they can't take it back. So I think that's the issue, based on town council's advice.
Well, can you get Steve to get something in Martha's hands bright and early in the morning?
What's left to complete?
Huh?
What's left to complete? I mean, it's. like-
Yeah, right, just the basic schedule, what's so many tons left or so much a ton, and
Yeah, there's paving. There's just so much done over there that was never even on the plan that's in addition to. But there's paving and plants. So I guess you could put together those two numbers. And I guess there would be there's probably 5 items. There would be an as-built, then there would be, then there would be a peer review on the as-built. There'd be the asphalt, final asphalt, and there's plantings in the big common area out back. So I think 5 items.
And the peer review is really, that should be covered by the escrow account that we already have. I'm not quite sure what the amount is, but that was for engineering
So there's
review.
money in there now, you mean?
So I think, I haven't checked it, but there should be.
I don't even know if
There should be, I can, I can check, if you wanted to put something in here just in case,
Okay,
that would make sense.
okay. So once we have that really tightened up, then we can shop at the 100. Like at this point, just leave the 100 in there. That's way more than what it needs to be.
That's okay.
Way more.
I understand.
So I think if the board were to make a motion to release Lot 6 pending receipt
Of
the
the,
funds,
of the 100, let's say
And a-
it's
and a schedule of
$100,000 and a
values.
schedule of values.
sorry,
Yeah. I'd like to just drive over it too, just for the hell of it, you know?
You mean you wanna just go look at it?
Just go look at it. I'll go look at it. I'm not suggesting the whole board do.
Yeah, I might do it too, but why don't we get a motion and get this thing going?
Yeah. I can do that tomorrow morning too.
Okay.
So,
Martha, just frame the motion again.
well, I'd say the motion would be to release Lot 6.
Lot 6,
As requested by
As
the
requested by the
developer, his
developer.
letter dated December 2nd.
Contingent
whatever it
upon.
was. Contingent upon
receipt,
receipt of a check in the amount of $100,000 and schedule of values outlining the value of the remaining work to be done.
and something from our attorney saying you can go ahead and do this? Or do we not need, no, we can take care of that.
Yeah, I think so, I mean, as
Okay.
long as the board
Say
feels
so.
comfortable.
Okay.
And
Okay, so I just said that.
And
So
authorize
he's
the
gonna-
town to sign.
So he's gonna so move it, and can I have a second?
Second, yeah.
Any further discussion on this rather straightforward but complicated issue? All those in fit, do you want to say anything? We're gonna vote,
Okay, so again, what you're looking for from me tomorrow is $100,000,
right?
right?
That would sound good.
And a passbook.
It
Yeah,
doesn't even need to be a passbook, we'll put it in an interest-bearing account,
Okay,
if that's easier for you.
okay, it's just a check, you mean a certified check.
Certified check,
Okay.
yeah.
And Steve, at some level, is gonna put together a work remain.
right,
You know, he'll quantify it with numbers too, but, you know, in the landscape, it's, I don't know, might be 5 or 10 grand of stuff, I don't know. But
Or whatever you
I'll
can
have
do.
him give it his best, and even if he comes up to 50, we're still double,
that's okay.
right?
And there may be some additional, I'll check, there may be some additional documents saying that the board is accepting that
Right,
surety for the remainder of the project.
but this should
I'll
enable you
put
to
that
close.
together.
So what type of a document then will I be receiving?
So you would get the
With
lot,
each-
you would get the lot release, the Form
Okay.
E, which
Okay.
we'll have to wait until tomorrow morning
Okay,
when we get the documentation from you, and John needs to sign it and get it notarized.
all right. I'm sorry for the inconvenience, but I thought I was coming here tonight, we're all set, because I have been working on it for a few days. So
No, I know.
I had no idea, I thought it was gonna be.
Okay.
Well, quite honestly, I thought it was gonna be okay too,
Yeah.
but
Okay, so I brought things here, I don't know if there's anything here you might need.
Why don't you hold, we're gonna vote.
Okay, sorry.
So, any further discussion about this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that's done.
Huh? So that's the same?
yeah, I've already got that, that's
Okay,
okay,
so you
yeah.
don't need anything from me at this point?
Yeah, so I don't need that, I got that from Mark this
Okay.
morning, and I've got a copy of the restrictive covenant. We don't need the lot release, we've got the lot release, we don't need the rescission, so
Okay.
I think that's,
It's a good way to end it.
Yeah.
so I think this will be a
Good suggestion.
Right, thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah.
So just, do you have a sense of what time you might come in? Is it
I'll have the
to-
bookkeeper come in at, what time you get at 8:30? All right.
What time could you come in to sign?
Whatever.
You have to have Ginny draw the thing up, right?
Well, no, we don't need to, we just need to have,
There will be another document saying that we're accepting $100,000 as surety. So I think.
Who's gonna prepare that?
I'll do that and see if I can get
Okay.
that over to Ginny. But we've
Okay.
got, we've got templates for that.
well, I'll be here whenever you tell me to be here. I just have something between 12:30 and 2:30. So I could be here anytime, right?
Okay.
So at this point, it has nothing to do with 7. The 100 will be the
Right.
number that we'll use to get to the other end.
Right,
And 7 remains released.
Got it?
okay.
Mark, can I get in there without inviting the attack dogs to tear my
Yeah,
shreds?
I can give you the number to get in if you want.
Okay,
Just,
you wanna write it
Yeah,
down?
just hit pound 1021.
Now it's no
Everybody on
longer
television
sacred,
has
is it?
received.
We're on bloody television, you know.
There's a.
I said right.
I'll just switch it. All right.
Trying to be security conscious here.
Change it.
All right, good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you very much, sorry to be pushy.
Okay. It's like asking for forgiveness, you know what I mean? It's hard to be pushy, but, See ya.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right, public hearing, continuation. No, this is the
This is
opening.
The opening,
Do we have a thing we have to read?
yes.
Give it to the clerk.
And do you have the tear sheets in your newspaper?
I do.
Okay, I need those two. And the abutters list?
Yes.
Ready?
Yep.
Town of Newbury, Planning Board Public Hearing Notice. In accordance with 97-9A of the Code of the Town of Newbury, Chapter 97 zoning, the Newbury Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, December 7, 2016 at 7:15 p.m. in the second floor hearing room at the Newbury Municipal Offices, 12 Kent Way, Byfield, Mass. 01922. To consider the application of ERA equipment, Angelo Chiardello, 101 Newbury Port Turnpike, Newbury, Mass. 01951, for approval of modifications to the site plan approved by the Planning Board on October 12, 2012. The original application as approved was for a proposed contractor's building with related site improvements at 101 Newbury Port Turnpike, Assessors Map R36, Lot 22. Proposed site modifications involved adding paving, regrading, and modifications to the stormwater management system and other site elements as shown on plans and as described in the amended stormwater report, all dated September 7, 2016, revised October 17, 2016, prepared by Williams and Sparagus, LLC. The plans and amended stormwater report are on file with the town clerk in the planning office, 12 Kent Way, Suite 101, Newburyport, Mass., and are available for review during regular business hours. For more information, contact the planning office at 978-465-0862, extension 312. All persons interested or wishing to be heard relative to the proposed modifications should appear at the time and place designated above. John Weiss, Chair, Newbury Planning Board.
Thank you, Jim. So we do have a couple of communications from you. Are you Peter, by the way?
Yes, sir.
You, Peter? Okay. And we have information from our peer review, Joe Sirwatka. And I'm wondering, does the board have any questions before we get into, I think they need to make a presentation. But does the board have any questions?
I've just got a comment. This showed up with us yesterday afternoon, and I have been flat out since yesterday morning at 8 o'clock.
I know that we were just handed this right now.
What's that?
So- and we were just handed the second one right now. So I mean,
Oh, Christ.
we're all aware of
Gets
that.
worse.
We
All
got
right.
that. We got that. Any other comments from board members before we get into it?
No, this can be addressed during the presentation.
Yeah, I'm wondering, I mean, I had a lot of questions because I just didn't understand, and I wasn't here when you first came before the board. But I'm wondering if we want to focus, does this make sense to focus on their response to Joe's letter?
Well, I think probably the first thing to do would be to have them make a presentation
Yeah.
on what they're doing. They had originally submitted documents dated October 18th, and we have since gotten, the revision documents dated November 16th, which is what Joe's most recent letter addresses. and that includes the work to the, the northeast of the cell tower. So I think it might be helpful to get a
Okay, let's do
presentation on
that.
that.
Okay,
From
so
them.
Peter or,
Yeah, I'll start off and hand it off.
okay,
to
thank
Peter.
you.
Okay,
And please give your name
sure.
and
Barry Fogel from Keegan Whirling for the applicant. With me is Peter Blaisdell and Greg Hockmuth from Williams and Sparaj, and Angelo Chardello is here as well. So we came before you several months ago, gave you a presentation on the proposal that had been developed to request a modification of the site plan approval to change to gain approval for the change to the configuration of the area here to the east, which had been shown on the approved plan originally as a graded slope with Roman grass, and had been actually built up as a gravelled area and fill up to the limit of a stone wall at the 25-foot boundary. So a stormwater analysis and report was done, it was reviewed with this board and then in full in front of the Conservation Commission this fall. And a new stormwater management report was submitted that showed the drainage from this area after the proposed pavement into an expanded area of the detention basin to the, do you have the full site plan?
Yeah, if you, well, no, that's the next meeting.
Okay. So this sheet shows the whole site. So this is the area that's to be paved, and then there was a channel to be added here on the east, and then this detention basin is shown with the new configuration with a 4-bay enlarged, and the whole stormwater report was submitted to go with that. That was reviewed by Joe Sirwatka. He wrote a letter commenting on that, to which Williams and Sparaj has responded, and we came before you and the board voted to treat this as a modification that would require a public hearing. We sent out public notice to abutters, to the certified abutters list, newspaper notification, and that's the hearing right now.
Okay.
In the meantime, at the prior meeting, questions arose about the area to the northeast of the cell tower enclosure, and questions about, in the area that was shown on the plan being encompassed by boulders, what was the proposal for that? The details of that had not been included in the original filing. It was shown as this gravel area around it, but no detail was included on the original plans. And John raised questions about the final grades of that. So since that prior meeting, it was surveyed and elevations were shot, and that was included in the updated amended stormwater report that's revised on November 16th that was submitted to the board under cover of a letter from Williams and Sparaj, and was handed off to Joe Sirwatka for additional review of the details in here. In the meantime, the question arose about how this would be managed and finished for use for these storage material areas. And instead of the gravel, it turned out that the gravel that was extended into this area when the area was finished, inside the concrete plot. And so, since that was a change from the stormwater in the original application, Williams and Sparaj went back to evaluate how that could be managed as an amended stormwater area for that purpose. And they came up with the plan that's in that November file that would have stone, a foot of stone put in there to accommodate infiltration. And so what you got was a one-page letter that we received from Joe in the last day, with 4 comments, 3 of which are relatively straightforward about things like as-built plans and inspection or whatever. So there was 1 comment about this stone area, which Peter will get into. And so in order to be able to discuss it with you tonight, it seemed just rather straightforward. to talk about how that area would be finished.
The, one question I, are you,
Well, yeah, so I'm about to wrap up.
okay, once you're finished.
Yeah, so what you have had is a sequence of events where we discussed with you in relatively some detail about how this would function down here. In fact, there was a site visit that was conducted between the commission and the planning board. The Concom approved this plan and did not yet issue the amendment to their order of conditions pending completion of the work with you, so that we'd be sure that they had the final plan in their file to reference in the amended order of conditions.
Okay.
Does that,
Yeah.
that make sense? And so we sent a copy of what you have from a couple weeks ago to the commission as well. Doug Packer and I communicated, and he just sort of raised a question with an email with me today that just said, we just want to know about the sort of inspection and maintenance of this area. We would like you to come back to one of our meetings just for a discussion of that, and then we can put an appropriate condition in the order of conditions. So pending our completion of your review on the site plan issue, we would be going back to the Concom to have a specific condition put into the amended order, referencing the final plans and reports and whatever condition the Concom would put in for management of that area into the future for stormwater purposes.
So was that the concerns that Doug had related to the material that would be proposed to be used in that area? And then also what kind of materials Angelo intends to bring in here, and how suitable it was to have that kind of material with whatever he's bringing in terms of, you know, bark, whatever it is,
Yeah, it
building
wasn't a question
materials.
about what would be in there. I mean, what would be in there would be loam, soil, gravel, maybe mulch, but mostly gravel.
Building, more
products.
like building materials.
Crushed stone, gravel,
Yes,
earth
right.
products.
Building materials, not
Building
landscape.
materials.
not
Correct.
landscape
Yeah.
materials.
No, Doug's question, and bear with me because it's in an email that I got. I don't know, did he copy?
I've got it right.
Oh, there you go.
Actually.
He said, I should have printed it up. Maybe I can leave it off for yours.
You can, and I actually talked with him as
Okay.
well, so I can.
Oh, good. He said, I've seen the proposed changes and also read the comments from Joe Sirwatka. The surface change is needed for compliance to become, and will become a change to the stormwater system. That fact, along with the comments from Joe, lead me to require some process take place to authorize the changes and to condition them so as to address what I see as legitimate concerns, such as, but not limited to, maintaining performance over time and potential displacement due to heavy equipment traffic. Meaning the long-term function of what you're about to hear about as a stormwater management element.
Okay.
Was that,
No,
was there another question?
Well, if I may, when I spoke with Doug, he indicated that he thought that this might actually be, unless you've spoken with him subsequently, and you might want to clarify with him, I
Yeah.
got the impression that he would actually be looking for an additional amendment to the notice of intent as opposed to a condition on the order of conditions that's remaining to be seen. Because this part really had not been addressed before. And, you know, he also does have concern about the driving surface with the stone. So, but I think that may be something for you to clarify.
Yeah.
But in any case, he does think the commission needs to review this again.
Yeah, that's what I got from that email.
Now, you've got a bit of a BMP problem if that were not stone, don't you? The stone is helping you out with the, with infiltration. But if you don't have stone, if you have something far more impervious, now you've got another issue.
Well,
right?
that's right.
Yeah.
So the gravel that's out there is more impervious than the proposed stone.
Exactly,
That's
yeah.
right.
And that gravel is to be removed, is that the
Yes.
plan?
Correct. So why don't we move to that? Let's have Peter talk to you
Yeah,
about the
sure.
material that to be proposed. Yeah, with the letter that was circulated, you'll see there's a detail at the last page of the letter that you just were handed.
Oh, do I have a copy?
Right there, turn it right hand.
Well,
Yeah,
your
this
most
is the one I
recent
brought
piece of
with
letter?
me tonight, so.
Open that up.
Yeah,
Well,
it says November 21, that doesn't
Oh,
sound
no,
like
no, no,
tonight.
Martha,
Are
did
we
you-
looking for the
did you
December
say-
7th?
Oh, Peter
December
gave
7th.
Martha, yes, December 7th, there should be a third page.
Yeah, it really could use to, be nice to read it.
Yeah, no, I thought Martha had said that. Peter
We
handed
just
it
got
to
it.
us.
I thought he
Oh, they
had
got caught
copies.
on the way around the horn. How many did you give
If
him?
I got,
Hold on.
Just give it.
this is my copy, right?
Oh, okay. Luckily I killed a lot of trees that night, so.
I got one.
You got one? All right, here, you got that one.
So, yeah,
Okay.
so what this is it's a, you see the 3 points that Joe's letter said and the 3 responses, are very brief, and then this section. You know, number 1, the comment from Joe was, you know, the board may want to have an as-built plan, and that's,
Right.
we consider that pretty straightforward.
I would consider that would be
Pretty,
a reasonable statement,
Yeah.
yeah.
Number 2 says the applicant has been advised that the application should submit required I&M
Inspection.
forms. We agree with that, obviously. I'll skip number 3 for the moment, because that's the one we'll talk about, and number 4 is just this area, if you remember the discussion up near the transformer, near the cell tower, there was this retaining wall,
Mhm.
guardrail. And I don't think Joe had seen the original detail of that in the Hancock plans that were approved by you back in 2012. So he wrote, a proposed retaining wall and guardrail are labeled near the cell tower, but no details appear. And as Peter wrote in his letter, it's going to be constructed in accordance with the detail in the original approval. We've talked to you about sort of modifying the length of that, and you already had sort of, I think the commission, you've understood the logic of that, so that entry to the cell tower gates would be feasible instead of blocking it with that.
Oh, yeah.
But the detail of what the wall and the guardrail would be were part of your original approval.
Okay.
So with that, the issue really now is just in this northern area, how this would be. So assume for a moment that gravel is in the entire shaded area. A veneer, a foot or 2 in places just to level it off. Instead, it will be retained for the driveway part of it, and then where the gravel is shown as not within this white driveway, this would be proposed according to what the detail shows attached to the letter. I'll let Peter describe the function of that.
okay.
Okay?
Put this over here so
Yeah.
everybody can see it. And hi, for the record, my name's,
No, sorry.
Oh, no, we
Cameras
just have
over
the cameras
there.
right
oh,
there.
that's a bad idea. All right, I'll see if everybody else over there.
Yeah,
can see
just
it.
that, I think that's okay.
All right, sorry, from Newbury. Folks at home.
want to tell the truth.
Hi, just for the record, Peter Blaisdell from Williams' Garages, 189 North Main Street, Milton, Mass. So I wasn't here at the last meeting, so I'll just sort of just go over what Greg had asked me to do, and if I get anything wrong, I'm sure Greg will let me know. So, as you gentlemen know, everything below here has already been taken care of with Mr. Sawaka, so I was just gonna focus on this area. So, this area was shown in the original Hancock report as subcatchment 55. And the cover type that Hancock had used was, they had 12,899 square feet of gravel, and then the remainder of the area they had down as a woods and grass combination, which sort of puzzled me a little bit because typically you only use the current number for woods and grass combination from, sorry to date myself, TR 55. It's generally for orchards and that type of thing, so I wasn't sure why he grabbed it, it might have been a typo. So what we wanted to do was to get that area to have at least the same curve number producing runoff or lower than what you folks had approved before. So we kind of, scratched our heads a bit to try to figure out the best way to do that, and the answer we kept on coming back to was to do some type of a low impact development type thing. So what we ended up doing was this area that you see here in this sort of like light brown, that's the exact square footage that was approved with the Hancock plan. It's 12,000.
12,000?
Yeah, 12,899 square feet, call it. Everything else he had as a woods and grass combination, but as Greg and I discussed, it's really impossible for us to replicate that now because of what's going on there with the gravel and that type of thing. So what we came up with is the best solution was to basically, and with Mrs. Chaville's approval, was to pull out all that extra gravel, bless you, sir, and, you know, put in something else that's going to, put in something, he gave me a blessing, put in something else that's gonna produce less runoff. So what we've done in the past is that type of thing, is just basically just putting in like a crushed stone bed. And what that does is allows you to put in, you know, a thickness of stone which has pore spaces in it, and then there's a calculation that you can get either through HydroCAD or through TR55 that allows you to calculate a curve number for that based on the depth of stone. And the
You've got some
pore space.
storage in there as well as the infiltration.
Yeah, exactly. So what we ended up doing, long story short, was all this area here that you see shaded in and then hatched in hexagonal here, all that area is going to be removed with gravel and then brought in, you know, crushed stone to a
Crushed
thickness,
stone.
yeah, 12-inch thick. Mr. Zawaka made a good point.
Which is what you've got on your page 3.
Yes, sir. And Mr. Zawaka made a good point. He said, you know, he was just concerned about maybe the bottom getting compacted. So what we thought we would do is just to make things a little better would be just come in, so over that crushed stone, let's just say this is the surface of the crushed stone, come in and put like a double layer of filter fabric over that. And then what we're gonna do is just, this is an example of just put like a larger diameter stone above that. And kind of similar like you might see at a construction entrance, or as a matter of fact, Mr. Chardillo has that stone, that's from his site. He has that now in this area back here. And currently right now, his machines come in, drive through and drive right across that stone, and it's functioning fine. There's no problem with it at all. Yeah, it's up by the street. So something like that, you know, it'd be very similar to like a construction entrance. So you're gonna have thicker stone up top that can catch any sediment and that type of thing, and then that won't wash through into the
So
stone
don't you get a
below.
lot of like loose gravel in situations like this? What kind of trucks are going to be going back in there to access this area?
But dump trucks, like that.
The dump trucks?
But the important part, and I was just gonna get to that, is
A loader, yeah,
Yeah.
loader and dump trucks.
so this area here, Joe and some other people mentioned about, you know, about driving across that. That's really not gonna be the vehicular travel path. So most of the travel is gonna be on this gravel area, which
And that's, you don't have a picture of that, do you?
I could get you one. I didn't print that out. I just wanted to show you a picture.
Well, that's
of
just
the
a
stone.
much more compressed kind of
So,
material.
so gravel, like, you know, many of you know, after a while, it gets very firm.
Right.
And especially with the weight and the loads of the vehicle. So these other areas that are shown with that stone really aren't meant, it is gonna get driven across, but it'd be more like, you know, a loader's coming in to drop off some stone or pick up some stone and then back up and then dump it into a dump. So it's not really, you're not gonna see like a vehicle come in here and really like drive all the way across this area into the bin. They're gonna come in, drive over the gravel, and then go into the bins and back out. But they're gonna probably be dropping off equipment, I would think. Again, I don't know ERA's business, but my understanding is that, you know, they're gonna drive in, they can drop off the equipment, drop off the materials and pick it up.
Angela, what were you originally going to do in this area that we're talking about? I mean, we're just going to store material, and it was going to be stored on what Hancock said was natural woods or something like that?
No, we were gonna do what we were doing now, like stockpile materials, but I did not know on the plan that, we showed gravel, we thought it was gravel the whole back area. And
But it wasn't.
I guess it wasn't.
It wasn't.
So my guess is that maybe there was a change and he forgot to update the curve numbers, that type of thing. So what we ended up doing with the latest rendition is, so we're gonna have, you know, basically three cover types. There's gonna be the gravel, the crushed stone, and then the remainder is gonna be woods. So we took out the woods grass combination because it really doesn't apply.
When you went at this, in one of your original, in your first part of your answer,
Yeah.
was that you took a look at the as-built and you took a look at the original plan of Hancock.
Right.
Do you have a map that overlays that?
I don't. I mean, we have their report. But
But I'd be really interested, because that helps me understand an awful lot.
So, Greg Hockman from Williams and Storages. So the good news is, footprint-wise, in this additional area, it's pretty much right on the money where it needs to be.
Mhm.
Permission was granted to maintain up to the 25-foot offset to the resource area.
Mhm.
And when we went out, we showed that on a plan here. You know, he actually didn't go back as far as he could have here. He went a little bit too far here, but this plan proposes to correct it. We're gonna pull the blocks back. So as far as the footprint that was originally approved in the Hancock plan, which this is a reduced version, but we keep calling it the shark fin.
Yeah,
You can see it was right along the 25.
Right.
And that's exactly the footprint that Angelo has been working in for the most part, with the exception of a small.
so there really is
encroachment.
not an egregious.
No.
No,
Okay.
and we just,
That's important.
the proposed gravel drive was approved and always
Yeah.
shown. The boulders were to be placed along the 25 foot. There were erosion controls approved.
And then what has he got here now? This is where those large stones are all thrown in, or
The
not?
stones currently
Are
are in
right
this
there.
area. We're proposing to add 2 additional ones, so there's 3 bins.
Okay.
And to pull back.
And there's a retaining wall there?
It's a block wall, like
Like a gravity block,
Yeah.
shade block.
Yeah.
Stone wall, basically.
You see a lot of landscapers do them all over
Yeah,
the place,
sure.
they create their
Sure,
own.
I got it.
It's okay.
So I think it was implied that there was gonna be
Well, I don't
activity
know.
back there.
John, it seems to me that from our point of view, our major concern is really what the Concom wants to do here. I mean,
Exactly, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's basically a drainage issue.
Yeah, it really is.
I think our interest in it is to be sure that we're in line with the Concom.
Yeah.
And, you know, I haven't talked with Doug about this for quite a while, and we don't meet for another, 2 weeks, I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And-
And which, of course, this will be, you be.
Well, no,
planning-
John, I'm away that week. My sense is we're gonna shoot for your first January meeting.
Oh, I
after the
see.
Concom.
Okay, well, there's plenty of time to kick this around
That helps us out.
informally.
That
then.
helps
Over
us
there,
Good
yeah.
time.
So the result of this is actually.
We should approve it here.
We're lowering, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry?
We'd
By
like
the
you
way,
guys to-
Barry, I'm sorry, we're doing this.
Yeah. I
You gotta get up and,
No, I just heard John say plenty of time to kick it around, and my response to that was I hope that you folks would give your approval, because it is really a stormwater conditioning issue for the
Yeah.
Concom. But that,
Yeah.
I just wanted to
Well-
put that in, that we're here hoping that we'll close this hearing, you'll see there are none of your butters who are here, no surprise.
Yeah, I think we can express opinions.
Sure, yes,
Yeah,
oh, no, then
certainly.
you come to the Concom.
Yeah,
We don't know.
yeah,
And
yeah,
we
but
would-
these
we
guys
won't-
don't belong to the Concom.
No, that's right, no,
so,
but we'll have this, yes, kick it around, you mean with Doug and you.
Yeah, and internally, because we're gonna have another meet, no, we're not having another, we don't have another
Don't
meeting,
think so.
do we? Yeah.
I mean, they'd like us to button this up tonight. The question is, can we approve this contingent upon the Concom approving the
Yeah.
stormwater and the other?
Well, I do like, the fix that Peter has suggested, and that's done a lot when you have crappy soil conditions, like in permafrost situations and so forth. It shouldn't work, but it seems to work beautifully.
It's gonna spread it out, and if anything, it's actually gonna reduce the amount of runoff, you know, just based on the curve number for this, so.
But now, of course, you're talking to some inches of crushed stone on top of the filter factory. How many?
So we're gonna do 12, so that, you know, we're gonna take all the gravel off.
Right, you got stone up to the 12
Yeah.
inches of stone,
12
filter
inches,
fabric,
filter fabric,
then what?
and then about another 4 inches of that bigger.
4
diameter.
inches of what?
Of that
this
rock
stuff.
that I showed you, that
This stuff.
like 2-3 inch.
If I may, you've got one more page right there.
Yeah, oh yeah, the,
Oh,
No,
okay.
but flip it over, John.
It's like 2-inch stone.
Just so you
I think it's about 2 inches.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
This is the material.
Didn't go far enough.
Yeah.
4 inch thickness of,
Yeah.
okay, so you're talking 3 inch minus 4 inches of 2 to 3.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And that should be pretty,
Okay.
that should stand up to, you know, just putting the equipment on.
Now, even that will plug, of course, over time.
It will,
That, there's gotta be some
right,
plan
so
to,
what we're gonna do,
clean that.
we're gonna work with the Conservation Commission to see what they wanna do as far as, you know, an operation and maintenance plan for it, so.
yeah.
You know, if it gets to the point where it gets clogged, it'll have to be removed and cleaned and put new stone down.
Yeah. Now, the enforcement of that kind of worries me.
Well, that will have,
Slightly.
I think what we're gonna end up doing, and this Attorney Fuller can speak to it, we'll most likely just conduct annual inspections on it. And,
Invite
who
us.
does them? The Concom does it?
But,
Do you
well,
inspect it?
I'm listening, you know, at
Yeah,
this point.
so the Conservation Commission does require us to submit inspection reports, so I'll let Attorney Fogel.
What I would, after what you said, what I would envision would be a joint inspection.
It'd
You know,
probably be
you
easier
guys
to-
open it up, invite the Concom and your own representatives, and then Concom says grace or not.
Right.
Now, as
You
this,
mean going forward? Or-
yes, in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
that's, the Concom, if we get a condition with them that puts that in place, as you know, that's the kind of thing that when time comes to get a certificate of compliance,
Yeah.
that can become a condition in perpetuity in the certificate of compliance.
Right.
For those inspections.
Yeah, and that is kind of awkward, because those things get lost in the midst of
Well, they get
time.
recorded, but yeah, no,
Yeah.
but that's, at least it's there. So it's
Yeah.
on record for both the current owner and any future owner.
Yeah.
But that is the kind of thing that in the next month, we can talk about.
A mechanism to
With,
do
the
that, yeah.
mechanism. But it would be, for example, during the annual inspection, if there's an area in this that is persistently ponding,
Yeah,
and suggesting that that's becoming clogged,
yeah.
then you take out that top layer and restore it, you know, that kind of thing. But that's probably a template for that kind of a condition for inspection and maintenance.
That's a pain in the neck to do.
Well,
Not that many options, are there?
Well, there's the other,
Yeah.
there's no, you're right. I mean, if this is gonna be the proper material that's gonna achieve the correct stormwater management, it has to have that with it. But this is a pretty robust design with a lot of storage in it, and with the, you know, because it's not gonna have.
Yeah, you're gonna have
There is
40% of the
activity, but it's
volume
not
is gonna be
daily,
water.
everything going on with heavy traffic.
So do I assume that by doing this work, and what's the schedule to get this work done?
Well, you've granted an approval, an extension of this for a
Right.
year to next fall.
Right.
As has the Concom already.
So-
So it would be completed by the end of, fall of 27.
So do I assume, I mean, I drove in there the other day and it is a mess back there. I assume all that mess back there is cleaned up?
Yes,
Like, when would you schedule to do that?
right away.
What
right away.
material's back there?
Oh, he's got rip wrap and stuff, I mean, he's got stuff back there.
Wait,
I mean,
do you see
stuff.
that? What is it?
Well, you've got granite curbing.
Right,
You have
Right
tree
next-
trunks still?
No, there's the trees.
all that
Yeah,
stuff,
all that stuff. will be
Trees
cleaned
are
up.
out.
all be cleaned up?
Yeah.
What schedule do you have to clean that up?
How soon can you get it?
Oh,
He's
how
asking
soon-
how soon can
oh,
you get it out of there?
Oh,
I'll interpret.
I thought we were getting
No.
everything.
Yeah, but
If you get
He want- what he-
approval and then the Concom gets approval, when do you move that stuff
Oh,
out?
I'll move it right away. Just move it right
I
away.
don't think he needs to wait for that approval.
He doesn't.
Start moving
Oh, I
it
He
thought-
out.
doesn't.
Oh, okay, I thought
You
that's
need to
right.
start moving
Okay.
that out.
Okay, that's fine.
What will remain there, in addition to, maybe on the edges where there's like some plows are racked, those may still be staged.
Yeah, I need to take another look at that, yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, but in terms of organic material, tree trunks, that's all gonna get cleaned up. Is there a pile of soil there still?
All right, Martha, help us out here, what can we do here?
Yeah.
Well, if you feel that you've received all the information that you need, you could close the public hearing with a condition on Concom's approval, or you could choose to keep it open.
What do you think?
I would think we could approve subject to the getting a favorable, order of conditions coming out of the Concom on this?
It's an amended.
It's an amended order,
Amended order of conditions.
well, how do you feel about that?
I'm still nervous. I'm nervous about going ahead without having things totally nailed down. I mean, the track record of this job has been pretty dreadful. And, you know, we've all seen situations where you set up something that has to be looked after. And people on the Concom leave town, they get, you get new bodies there, they forget. And the next thing you know, we might as well not have done this. 4 or 5 years from now, it could easily be that isn't gonna, those inspections aren't gonna happen. And it sure as hell is gonna plug. I totally agree with Joe, that it will plug if you don't take measures. I do like this approach, frankly. I think that's probably the best approach that we have. but it does require maintenance. And it requires that any given bin needs to be totally empty, which operationally is a pain in the neck. You know, it's enough of a pain in the neck, there'll be a tremendous temptation to not do it. Okay, and I'm looking for a mechanism to be sure that if we do something like this, be sure that the cleanup happens and the inspection happens.
I understand. One of the things to remember is that this was and is a relatively flat area.
Yeah.
Bedrock is shallow.
Mhm.
It's not a lot of drainage generally as a, what was the area outside of the 12.9? 6,500 or less?
Well, the area of just the bins is about 6,500 square feet.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a large area. It's not,
Sure.
it's flat. There is the 25-foot buffer. This wetland is, I mean, this is a project that did not involve any wetland filling. You know, it's sort of, it's in the buffer zone.
Yeah.
These are not pollutant-bearing stored materials. They're clean materials. He's not bringing in contaminated soils from excavations of tanks or whatever. That's not what he does. So it's got a low threat stormwater issue here. I mean, we're not, you know,
Well, we're not
I get
going
the
to cause
question.
flooding.
We're
That's
not gonna cause
understood.
flooding, we're not gonna cause pollution, we're not gonna cause
Yeah, but-
filling of the wetland or anything like
Yeah,
that.
there is a requirement for a certain amount of
So
re-infiltration.
we're sort of catching up with the stormwater requirements for what, frankly, Hancock at the time, Alan Roscoe, sort of stopped his analysis. He threw in a calculation for this subcatchment as being, what'd you call it, woods and grass, or?
Yes.
Yeah, was he figuring that before it was touched at all? Was that
No.
a pre?
No,
That was his post
the
condition.
pre-existing condition, he had it as all woods. But then the post condition, he
Oh,
had
the
it
post
as
was.
woods and grass.
Yeah, that's
So
okay.
it might have just been a mistake, an oversight. I don't want to throw Alan under the bus.
No.
I will, though.
We understand.
I mean, he didn't go to
Yeah.
Angelo, he didn't go to Angelo and say, look, I want you to understand something, I'm using woods and grasses for this subcatchment, you need to understand if you're he didn't walk him through that, all right?
No, he didn't.
And so there was a little bit of, you know, yeah, that'll work, without thinking it through as to, well, it's not gonna work really for proper, but I guess what I'm responding to, John, is that it's worth doing this design right, getting the con-con, putting the condition in, but in the grand scheme of impact, we believe it's pretty minor. It's
Yeah.
better than it is to the gravel that's there. This is correcting that.
Right.
And so, and it's also one piece of, don't forget, the application for the modification is for the bigger picture, which was this other area
Right.
in the stormwater. That's been, I'll call it, resolved.
Resolved.
And so, you know, from a site plan standpoint, our request is that you approve the modification with the condition that this be addressed as a stormwater management element with the Conservation Commission with appropriate conditions in the amended order. I mean,
Okay,
I'm speaking for my client when I say he doesn't mind coming back and forth to the commission and the planning board, but he'd prefer not to.
Well, we understand that. I can't imagine why he would
You know, it would
like.
be
Yeah.
very, you know,
You guys are being
There's
very
something
fair.
wrong with it.
Barry, when this project started, John had dark hair,
What?
just so you know.
You had dark hair when the project
Oh,
started.
yeah, right.
I mean, really.
Oh,
you know?
come on, it's only been
No.
4 years.
Actually, I've had this color hair since about
16.
1980.
Yes.
So,
I guess the other question is whether the board would want to get response from Joe to this, you know, to this before
right.
making any decision or closing.
Well, We've got,
Let me just see, they've agreed to 2, and it's the third one that they've proposed. And let me just read over Joe's concern before I think that that's necessary. He's right, and they've agreed that he's right.
The last sentence there we had discussed. Limiting the types of
Well,
materials to be stored.
for one thing on this, we would need a spec. There's 2 issues, strength of the fabric and permeability. And we kinda need to see that
Yeah, I
demonstrated
mean,
today.
we can get some type of like a Marafi filter fabric. or
Yeah, be a
something.
Marafi something, yeah, but, you know, there's filter fabrics and filter fabrics,
Yeah, it's not gonna, it's really not gonna,
you gotta say something more than 2 layers of filter fabric.
sure.
Um,
I usually just try not to spec a certain, brand, I would say, but we can pick something.
Do they have
Well,
various?
you know, initially it's fine to talk about concept, but then somewhere you gotta be sure that something sensible gets put down.
Sure.
I mean, I really hate to see this get put down with no holes in it, or a mill thickness that,
Yeah,
a 1-inch stone the sharp is gonna punch through.
yeah, we can, come up with a suitable, you know, heavy duty type of a filter fabric.
Yeah, I
that
mean,
still
it's-
allows the passage of water and, you know,
Yeah.
won't puncture when they put it in.
Just looking at the timing, we're gonna meet again on the 5th, right?
4th January.
Wait a second. Oh,
2nd is a Monday.
maybe I'm on March, let's get me on January, sorry, 4th. And then the Concom meets on the 17th, and we meet again on the 18th. That sound right?
Right.
Um, Forgetting schedules and all that, I really would rather not be voting on approval until the Concom has a chance to kick this around and we all know which way we're going and how we're gonna get there. But we're gonna meet in December, as far as I know. Haven't heard that our
mean the
December meeting
Concom?
has been bagged.
Your Concom.
Concom meeting,
Yeah, you meet
So
the
so that
20.
we would have your council when we meet
Before
on
the 4th.
on January 4th.
yeah. Yeah,
Well,
I mean, it's conceivable. I mean, I can't speak for the Concom, obviously, but just theorizing.
Well, see, they're the approval agent for storm.
No, we're not,
So-
I mean, this, between now and January, mid-January, nothing's happened.
Nothing's happened.
Yeah.
So, you know, I made my request, but if, you know, we will probably plan on being in front of the commission on the 17th, with it all wrapped up, if you will, and they take their action. If you meet on the 18th, you come back on the 18th.
No,
We don't meet on the 18th.
Oh, you
It-
don't?
it's
In
not
Jan-
like-
no, in January?
January?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
it's
yeah.
it's unlikely we'll meet until this board.
We'll meet on the 18th in January, certainly.
We'll meet on the 4th and the 18th.
Yeah, I'm saying the Concom
Yeah.
on January 17th. We're not gonna make it to their December 20th meeting.
Oh, you
We're not
won't?
gonna
That's
come-
right, it's too late for filing, yeah.
Well, and it's, I'm out of town.
Yeah,
won't be there.
okay,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So we're
That's
gonna
right.
shoot past that.
Okay, so that's
Everybody's got
okay.
the holidays.
So you're comfortable with that?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
then we don't need to close
We
this
don't
hearing.
have anything
We just need to
continued.
continue it.
That, you need to be here, I got it.
Yeah.
No, I was
Okay.
just thinking that.
Is that all right, Angela? You're
Yeah,
not
that's
going
fine.
anywhere?
No, that's fine.
You
Okay,
going anywhere?
No?
all right. Then we need a motion
Well,
to
you can
continue the public hearing.
Can your engineering team at least talk about it? At that meeting? You know, how we're gonna do, what further details we need, et cetera.
I think it's gonna be you and Doug and him and Joe talking.
And, you know, if Joe,
You meet at the site even.
Joe's a reasonable guy. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure he'll come back with, just say, you know, if you give me, like you said, a material that we want to use and how it's going to be placed.
Well, I'm not really thrilled about this, the town's engineer designing it. I mean, his role is to be, you know, say what'll work and what won't work, but let you guys decide.
Oh,
I don't
Joe,
want
yeah.
Joe giving you a design.
Oh, no, I usually will give
But we
him,
can kick it around, certainly.
I'll ask him if this is acceptable. If he says it is, then
Yeah.
we're good.
Okay,
Yeah,
You would like to-
by that time, by the time he talks to you and Joe and Doug, he'll have picked a specific fabric.
Sure.
And you would like to continue,
We would like to continue this to
we'll
the
continue
meeting on
on the January the 4th. Oh, 18th?
Yes.
Thank
January
you.
18th.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
all right, let's have a motion, please.
I move that at the specific request of the applicant, that the open hearing be continued to January 4th,
No, 18th,
thank you, January 18th.
at a time certain.
At time certain of 7:15.
Yeah. Any comment on that? Have a second, please.
Second.
Any further comments? All those in favor?
All right.
You're done. Okay, see you on the 18th.
Take good.
Happy
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Take care, you guys. Happy holidays.
Yes, happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Have a good one.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too. Always cover our bases here, you know.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot.
See, I was gonna. I was okay then. I had 5 conditions, one of which I hadn't brought up yet, but I wanted to get a bond from them.
Right, oh, that's why I said money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Talking about a
That's a
bond.
bond, apparently.
Can we do that
yeah.
as a private
Yeah.
property
We
kind of?
can't because we've only done it on public property. But can't we do it on private property? I thought we can.
Do it on subdivisions.
Do it on subdivisions. I think when
That's subdivision,
when we redid the site plan review, I think we allowed ourselves to do it. But you know what? Let's go back. I'll go back and take a look at it. I think we did. I think we did.
Adam, go ahead.
Remember we did, we got money, but it was for the road.
It's for the road.
No, it was for the road. This is only for the road, right? And so the question is, remember we went over that and we were talking about, we've had so many projects, we use this as the poster child.
Yeah, well, considerable regret that we didn't get a bond, if it
That's
was
right.
at all possible.
I
at
think
this
it
point.
might have
But the Concom does have more teeth than anybody, I think, at this
been.
point.
On this issue?
Yeah, because DEP will make them all wish they were dead, if it came to that.
Yeah.
Do you want to, is it good there?
I think we're okay. So we need to, this is a continuation of a public hearing of the application for a approval of a definitive subdivision plan for 255 High Road, owner and applicant Adam Chase True, Real Estate Development LLC. And so if you guys are ready and you want to update us with your progress to date,
Sure.
be happy to hear it.
Thank you. Good evening, Scott Cameron with Lauren Cameron Group. Thanks for having us again. I'll just do a quick recap like you suggested, and then we're hoping tonight to maybe get through kind of make sure everybody's comfortable with the design and look to have the final plans ready maybe for endorsement at our next meeting. So what I'm going to do is give you, if you don't mind, I have just a handout with that, so you can see it up close if you prefer. It'll make it a little easier.
Sure.
I'll just pass these out. So after the last meeting, really the big homework assignment for us was to get together
Can you give one to John?
with the fire department and also with the building department about 2 different matters. And one was with the fire department to have a discussion about the cul-de-sac. Ahead of the last meeting, the fire chief had asked us to increase the diameter of it up pretty close to the size of the conventional subdivision diameter. And on the handout I just gave you, you can see that outlined in red here is what that diameter was, 125 foot on the pavement. So we met with the fire chief, a couple of planning board members were at the meeting, planning staff, fire staff, the abutter was there, and we talked about reducing this back down to what the original design was for, which we had already engineered to satisfy the turning requirements for the fire truck. The only difference being that instead of the 20-foot width we had originally, we kept it at the 25-foot width that the chief had asked for. And so that's reflected on what I just gave you. This is back to the original submittal, accepting the 25-foot diameter here. And then we also added in the center, we wanted to grass this so it would have a little bit of an island. And what we're going to do with that is we're going to edge the island with cobbles, so there'll be a border and a distinct divide between the travel lane and the center. And then in the middle, we'll have a structural base, not just loam and seed. The roadway sub-base will continue across the whole thing, no more than 4 inches of loam that will seed with a perennial rye, or do like a stone desk in the center that they can drive the truck over. So if they need to set up here with the truck or drive straight over it, they can do that. The other changes we made to the plan, and really the significance of this was it shifted away from Mr. Kennedy's property back to where the original location was. And the other item we had talked about was maybe extending that, and it really didn't do much extending this any further, because if we extended it further with the interest of making this lot maybe more square in shape, it would push the road closer to Mr. Kennedy's lot, and I don't think that was a desirable solution here. So we kept it at the same length, which is just under 500 feet, so we don't need an additional waiver for the length. We also looked at the driveway cross-section, talked about this with the fire chief. 20 feet is your minimum width for clearance for a fire truck. However, we were concerned about the width of the driveway coming down. So what we did is we narrowed that down to 16 feet. I'll show that on a detail here. If you look to the second page, down the bottom middle, I provided that detail. And then we're going to extend the subbase out 2 feet on each side and do the same thing with just 4 inches of loam on top of that we'll see with the perennial rye. So it won't get squishy, you'll be able to drive on top of this, so if they need the full 20-foot width, it will be there. And over time, this will build up with the sand, we'll make a pretty sturdy surface as time goes on. So that'll provide the 20-foot width that they're looking for, that's structurally reinforced.
And the fire chief's okay with
And
that?
he's reviewed that. I don't know if we've received anything in writing from him yet.
I exchanged a couple of emails with him today. My understanding from him is he has not actually received a copy of the revised plan to sign off on. He did receive the restrictive covenants and homeowners association along with the snow management plan that Adam sent earlier today.
Yeah, all I gave him was a revised, I gave him a small 8x11.
Okay, so he hasn't gotten the full size, but
He
he's
has,
reviewed.
yeah, he's seen it, but he just doesn't have the full size.
Okay, all right, so what we've been doing is working with him and getting to this design. Wanted to get through the hearing tonight, and then we wanted to publish what we wanted to be the final set of plans, not having to go through any more changes after that. Let's see there. Okay, so the other change we made to the plans are on the driveway alignment. I mentioned the width, but we also shifted the driveway 30 feet away from the Mitchell property here in that direction. So we provided a greater buffer, and this plan gives you a pretty good illustration of how far away from the house it is now as it comes back out. Do you need to make any changes to stormwater management? The plan still remains the same for that. And then earlier today, Mr. True emailed out the draft of the homeowners trust, and within that are some covenants and restrictions that he's going to put on the property. Of note to the board, and these are things that we had discussed, is a covenant to prevent any further subdivision of this lot. Covenants for maintaining a 20-foot width with plowing for snow for emergency vehicle access, and that's all the way out to the property. And that information was sent out. So I'm not going to go through the whole thing. If you have questions about it, I'd be happy to talk about those. And I don't think, the only other item we addressed was we submitted a letter to the building inspector about the use for the barn. And that letter basically says we're not going to do anything on that property that isn't allowed under zoning. So it will be used either for residential, will be renovated and used as a home, or will be used, as a barn like you would for a house for storage of tools. There won't be any commercial enterprise out
Do you
of
have
it.
a copy of that?
No.
Yeah,
Make sure we get that.
I gotta get that back from Sam. He's
Yeah,
aware
because
now.
we need to see that, because if we are approving it, if you're saying that, that's fine, but we need to see that.
That's a part of the approval.
Because that's gotta be a part of the approval, because we can't approve something that's contradictory to zoning.
Mhm.
I hear you say it,
Mhm.
we need to have a
Right.
copy of that.
Yep.
Well, that's good.
So I think, I think we've addressed all the kind of questions and concerns that were on the table from the last meeting, and then what we worked on in between. Again, my hope is to get through tonight with hopefully some sort of a straw vote of confidence that this is going to be a satisfactory design and be coming back for an approval at the next meeting. Would you, or do you need me to go through any of the waivers that we're asking for?
Yeah, go through them again, would you please? Because it was a while ago. And Martha, when we go through the project, we probably need an opinion of each of the waivers. I think we need to do them one by one,
Yes.
so we can do that maybe next time. Okay,
So listed on the cover sheet,
right.
you'll find the waivers. So the first waiver from section 117-18A3 for environmental analysis. The regulations allow the board to waive that for a 3-lot subdivision. 5 lots or less is the threshold for that, so we asked for a waiver of the environmental analysis. Section 117-23, the table for general layout and dimensions. We're asking for waivers to allow a gravel surface instead of asphalt. We're asking for a waiver to provide no sidewalks. We're asking for a waiver on the right-of-way width from 53 feet down to 40 feet. No need for the additional right-of-way with the narrower road. And then we're asking for the waiver on the roadway down to 22 feet wide. And that's on the roadway itself, not the driveway. So this section here, we're asking for that to be a 22-foot width.
And what's the requirement?
The requirement is, I apologize.
I think we just
I
read
thought
it.
it was 22, to be honest.
22 is what's.
It is, I'm sorry.
It is
okay.
22.
Okay, it was the cul-de-sac we
Did
changed.
the cul-de-sac shrunk?
Yeah.
Yeah, from the
Yeah,
requirement.
The cul-de-sac shrunk, so that one was reduced down to a 95-foot outside diameter for the pavement. We're providing a 25-foot radius here, and then the diameter of the cul-de-sac, the right-of-way itself, we're asking for a reduction in that.
And Nate is perfectly okay with that,
Yep,
okay?
yeah. No,
The
John,
only
we-
reason I'm emphasizing it, because previous chiefs have been rabid, they've thought that the mouth about
Right.
anything less than what
We had a good meeting with
required.
John, and I forget the other fellow's name who was at the meeting, but I think, you know, it was well received. He's okay.
Okay,
Yeah, I think he still needs to give his final blessing on it.
So we need to.
Oh, yeah.
right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, we'll get.
got that, yeah.
Yep. So the next waiver is 117-31, fire protection, a waiver for the 20,000-gallon cistern. What we've agreed to provide is transponders, so if there's an emergency, a signal will go out to notice the homeowner that there's an emergency or problem at the property. So that was what the fire chief asked us to provide instead of the cistern.
Mhm.
And then the last waiver is 117-21D, and that's for the radius, for the return on the right-of-way here. We want to put the roadway at the existing driveway apron. We feel for site distance issues and also because there's an existing Mass DOT approved curb cut there. This is the optimal location. And being on the property line, we can't fit the 30-foot radius, but there's really no need for it in that location. I think on the site walk, for those that were there, we got a chance to look at that location.
You had a stormwater, at one point, you had a stormwater waiver that you wanted.
That was for the requirement, it wasn't under subdivision, this was under stormwater bylaw, but this
Yeah.
was,
But there's reference by the subdivision rules and regs.
okay, so this was to presume this is all wooded
Yeah,
in the existing condition. And it's not, it's a field, it's gonna remain a field,
yeah.
so designing it for a wooded condition. would
There are
be-
fields and there are fields. You get the same curve number for a certain kind of field as you do for woods good. Okay, so, and the general intent was that the original condition be mostly what we have in Newbury, which is hay fields, not pasture. Pasture's a different matter. Hay fields, woods, good woods, and just scrubland. They all have roughly within 1 or 2 the
Close.
same.
Yep.
But on that particular one, it's a moot point because this is less than 4 units, so the bylaw doesn't kick in. We don't enforce that bylaw until you get to 5 units,
Mhm.
5 lots or 5 units of,
So we weren't asking for that.
you wouldn't have to do it, yeah, anyway.
The review consultant, I think, brought up. that
I'm sorry?
question. The review consultant.
He brought that up and he missed that point as well, but it's not a requirement for this subdivision.
At our last meeting, I encouraged you to talk with Mrs. Mitchell about how the road might be moved. Did you talk with?
I'm gonna have Mr. True
Okay.
respond to that, because he's been having the communication.
Adam True? Yeah, I did. I responded, emailed back and forth, so I gave her a couple different versions. One was the road as it existed, one was the new road, and then dotted lines to show the difference between the two. And she seemed as if she was happy with it, I guess. I mean, she didn't really say too much, but she said it would be up to the board to decide, I guess. I can't remember exactly, but she didn't seem against it, let's put it that way. We had made some changes for her, and I also emailed her the covenants too today, which is part of something that she wanted to see running forth on the property that I didn't think I was gonna do, but as I sat there with my lawyer looking at the covenants and restrictions, we left a lot of them in there. They seemed like good stuff anyways. Chain link fences, no storage of this, that, the other thing, RVs, that type of stuff, so. Similar
So
to the
you,
ones-
you had a meeting of the minds on the covenants? You're
Yeah.
pretty much together on that? Yeah.
John, you okay?
Yes, I've read the covenants.
You okay with the design?
Yes, I appreciate the fact that the road's been moved over, and I guess my only point would be the planned screening, plantings are important.
Yeah.
And, you know, as long as that's done, yeah, I appreciate the effort to move it over.
Now, is Elizabeth convinced that she's not gonna have high beams in her windows anytime somebody drives in
Yeah.
after dark?
I mean,
We have to-
I can't speak for her, but I think so. I mean, we've screened it so that it doesn't seem to be a possible way.
I think the general message was that, you know, she wants to be able to work with them during construction on that matter. I think they talked about that a little bit. We've put measures on plan here, and, you know, when we go through the lot design, if there's questions or concerns, they're
Yeah,
neighbors.
this is the kind of thing that you can work with
She
both.
did say in the email she wants to work
You can work with
the
both,
plantings. Yeah.
with both parties,
Yeah.
because doing the right kind of landscaping and the buffering is something that you can do. Oh, put it here, put it there, you're out there, you've got a neighbor there, you're gonna say, it works here, it doesn't work there, and that's the way you're gonna do it, you know, and I'm sure it'll work out.
Martha had suggested that we have a site visit after dark some night and drive a pickup in with high beams and see what, on the theory that Martha, that Elizabeth may be high enough to,
Yeah, it should.
so that would be a moot
Well,
point.
so I've done that exact thing.
Is he
and
serious?
I-
Yeah.
I don't
You
know.
have?
Is he, are you serious?
What's that?
Are you serious?
serious?
It's always secret.
Yeah.
John is
Oh,
always
okay,
serious.
sorry. I
John,
thought you were joking.
just so you
I
know,
thought you were
John
joking
never
too.
jokes.
I don't know what the hell is the question.
Sorry, I didn't know you were
Everybody's
serious.
laughing at me.
I've done it at night, and no, they can't reach it. It's not even possible because all headlights have a certain downward tilt,
Yeah,
and she's actually much farther above than it
well, that's
actually
what Martha
looks.
was saying, that there was
Yeah,
a
it's not.
differential.
Yeah, the
They
slope
can't
is
even
down.
get there. They just
So that is not, at one point that was an issue, that's not an issue anymore?
no.
Has anybody talked to Elizabeth?
Martha,
she's-
does
she's-
Elizabeth
she's-
talk with you?
Not at any length. She did say that she had, seen the revised plans. And I
Well-
encouraged her if she had any comments to send them.
Yeah,
over to
that's
me.
up to Elizabeth, the way John has done it, for Elizabeth to get back to Adam in any way. That's the way you have to handle it.
Yeah, she just said appreciate the changes and want
I
to
think
work
we
together.
ought to be hearing from Elizabeth.
Yeah, one way or another,
Hmm?
right? Yeah, but not as a board member, but as a.
No, as a
resident,
butter.
As a butter.
There's two abutters, one is happy, one is
We don't know.
presumably
We-
getting
we-
happier
we-
all
we-
the time,
we-
but we
we
don't.
think, we think, it sounds like it's better than it was.
Yeah,
So, I'm thinking that we want to review this again, because I think we need to do a point-by-point approval of your waivers, and I think the board's got to go back and think about all these waivers that are being asked, and give a considered opinion about why it is that we think that we should be giving the waivers, do you know what I mean? And so I'm thinking that we can do that at our next meeting, unless people think that they are ready to make approval here. But I think that the thing that, as I said, we might want to, but without the fire department's approval, I think
Yeah.
that we shouldn't
Yeah,
do it.
yeah. I think we ought to hear from the other country,
Yeah,
and we ought to hear from the fire department. I'd be okay talking about the waivers tonight, I've made up my mind what I think. But if others would like to wait, I'm good with that.
well, I had said that only because it looked like we were gonna have to wait to approve it
Sure.
anyway, so let's just do everything at once.
And also, the board may want to review the documents that Adam sent today, and I don't know if you
Yeah,
want
I haven't
town
looked at
council
them
to
yet, I
review
just
them.
printed them in.
I don't know, do we have a say? We don't have a say with HOA's agreements, do we? I mean, we can tell you what
Yeah,
our opinions
I
are.
was just sort of, I'm
We
trying to
can give
get.
you our opinion, but I don't think
Yeah.
that we hold any weight on that.
We may
Homeowners
not,
agree.
I don't know that we do or not, but I think we ought to read them.
Yeah,
At least
I was
be aware what
basically
the hell they
offering up,
say.
I was only offering up the homeowners association, I was gonna have to do it anyways. I was offering that up so that on the back page is an amendment for snow removal for Nate, so that we keep the circle clear
Yeah,
completely.
I-
So that's what he was asking, to see that part, and the other part is the covenants and restrictions, those are.
okay, so we have some work to do, and we have to read the covenants and restrictions and the HOA agreement, and.
In the HOA agreement, like I said, if you just basically have to only read the exhibit C, or the appendix to it that's talking about snow removal. The rest of
Okay.
it's just, you know, it's like 18 pages of homeowner fluff and buff.
Okay,
Yeah, the other thing I would hope you would give some consideration to, not binding, but for the benefit of Mr. Kennedy and for Mrs. Mitchell, when heavy trucks are going out back carrying heavy loads, that the speed be kept down so there's no rumbling by your house and no rumbling by her house.
Sure.
It doesn't have to be, it can go faster in open sections, but near the houses, no.
What exactly does happen with a private road if that's a public, if that become a public subdivision road, it gets a speed limit, right? Of some sorts, is that how, like?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is just as a.
But on a private
Yeah.
road, does it,
I don't think anybody's gonna.
This'll
I'll make
somewhat,
sure.
there's a private road.
No, we sold it down.
Private,
For
yeah.
a buck. They took it.
and this too, even though there is some straight sections, the narrower width
Right.
of both the road and the driveway will help self-mitigate the speed a little bit. But, yeah, it's certainly a
It's just
neighborly.
something to keep in mind.
yeah.
Well, I think it's important, we can tell you one thing, I do appreciate the changes that you've made,
So do I.
and I
Thank
think it shows, you know, a good faith effort on your part, and hopefully that both parties will go along with this, and then we'll go through next week, and hopefully that Nate has no problem with what you've submitted.
Yeah,
Or
actually,
not
that
next
was
week, but next
mostly
time.
my fault for not getting a revised set of plan. Hey, you had a small 8x11, and you got the covenants and restrictions late, but
Okay.
from what we discussed, he understands, he's on board.
Now, it's probable that we're not gonna meet until January 4th, is that okay with you?
Do I have a choice?
What's
What's the other?
No.
one?
currently on the calendar?
One thing I guess I do want to know and clarify is that if we get to that meeting, we can get everything done. I guess it's obviously getting expensive for all the, you know, the back and forth and stuff. If all of a sudden, say, one neighbor raises a huge concern again, you know, where am I left? I don't know. That's, so I guess I want to know, I'll talk to Elizabeth prior and want to know where
So
she's feeling about the whole thing and where
we
she's
could
at.
do a straw vote of how people feel about the project at this point in time.
Yeah, that would help my
Much
confidence, I
appreciated.
guess.
Yep.
Right now, I'm in favor of it.
Okay.
I'm in favor.
I'm good,
Yeah.
pending, of course, the things that
Okay.
after those things we talked about, but
Just helps me with my planning.
assuming they
trying
come
to get
good, I'm
things-
good.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, all right.
So we're gonna take a vote to continue this to the January 4th meeting,
Right.
okay? You do that?
Okay. You want a continuation? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
At the specific request of the applicant, I move to continue the public hearing on this matter until January 18.
Fourth.
4th.
I've been killing the days all this evening.
Here
Yeah.
we can do it at 7:15.
Time passes much too fast.
No,
That's it.
we've got the other one at 7:15,
7:45.
The-
The one we just voted on.
ERA.
That's
Oh,
on
no,
the
sorry, I was
18th.
saying the
18th.
18th, right.
Yeah.
sorry, my
7:15.
7:15 for this?
mistake. Too many dates going on.
You think that we were the PRA for God's sake.
Call for a second.
Any second on that? Did we get a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
None.
All those in favor?
All right.
Okay, so on the 4th of January at 7:15 time certain, hopefully all these things will be buttoned up, okay?
Thank you.
Have a good
Thank
holiday.
you. Thank you, guys.
Christmas, so you have anything for us?
After the new year.
Yes,
Oh, yes, Hank, I said yes,
Can I get a
Hank.
copy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is deep?
Decomposed granite is a result of laterization. It mostly happens in the tropics, where a rock, usually an igneous rock, goes through a chemical process.
Right now, it's sort of
Rises
side
with
A,
water
right, so you can't see.
and it
So
goes,
it's
the
going
rock
to
goes to hell.
Usually.
You can take decomposed granite and take it in your hand. Yeah, it's on its way to becoming laterite. Laterite is what you end up with. It's that red soil that you see, and it's great stuff until it gets wet. And when it gets wet,
slippery.
pardon?
Slippery at that point?
It's not very good at that point, no. Vietnam was full of it. We use laterite a lot as a subbase. So there's a lot of good stuff on top, but it was,
I love these cookies.
I don't decompose granite on the railroad while I was on it. We're about to stop it. It'll rip, you don't have to blast it. You put a ripper blade behind the cap.
Night, guys.
I always told widows that they go through grief.
Rich, why did you watch it?
It's on here.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah, decomposed granite island details, so that they can.
well, I'll be, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that. I could have read that thing carefully. I'm not sure that's a really great material.
Well, we asked him if a material like that been used in New England. And he said yes, and it's, he thought it was an appropriate material for that location. I think it's different than what you're describing, the Vietnam.
It may well be. I have not heard the term decomposed granite in 35 or 40 years.
We used it in San Jose.
Did you?
For areas around plantings and in sides of minor roadways and subdivisions.
Okay. It's shoulder
Stuff.
Yeah, material.
And so I think that's what they were thinking of it here.
Yeah.
So it's a new, I don't know if it's new, but, I mean, we used it, 15 years
Where do you
ago.
get it? There's nothing around New England's
Well, I
going to
asked
produce
him, I said, because I had said material like that. He said, oh, no, I've used that quite a bit. I said, okay.
I've used it never.
Yeah.
Is that something you'd like me to run by Joe? I mean,
See what he thinks, yeah.
Because I call it DG. Just, that's, I mean, it was
DG?
used, it
Yeah,
was
that's
just
what I
used,
call it, too.
it was
That's
just
the
used
nickname for
so frequently that, yeah, I put some DG down there. Anyway, yeah, ask Joe, that's a great idea.
Give me some DG.
Master plan, a little bit of update on this or not?
Yeah, we could do a little bit of update. I had a discussion with Roberta Cameron a week before last, I think, or beginning of last week. And so what we're looking at now is doing one more contract extension to March 1st, actually March 15th, and it'll give a buffer with the goal of completing all of our outstanding work by January 31st. It's going to be a real push for us, especially for things that we haven't really gotten our teeth into yet. But, and then that'll give her a month to wrap up the land use and for us to finish the maps before that, but do any tweaking. And potentially have another meeting of the master plan committee as well as a public meeting. Tracy was
Before
actually.
the 31st?
Not before the 31st, probably that would be after. But
In other
Tracy
words, we
was-
have the meeting, she gets her work done, and then we have meetings with the master plan committee and maybe the general public.
And the general public, and Tracy was asking if we had any plans for, kind of a rollout, which we really haven't discussed.
No, but we don't have the product yet.
Right.
So once we
Right.
have the product, we can think about that. Okay.
So I did
I thought we did want to have something with her and the board members, just to go over. She's made a number of recommendations in terms of land use that have lots of policy implications. And I think it would be nice for, I know it's been difficult to get the master planning committee together, but rather than just having, you and me meet with her, I think that she should meet with the board at least, maybe sometime in January.
Yeah.
And if you think we can get the committee members, that's great, but I don't know that we can.
And depending on our schedule, we could try to do it at a regular board meeting and invite anybody from the master plan committee.
Well, that's a good idea.
to come.
Maybe on the 4th we could do it on, well, we're not going to 4th, no one's going to be ready because it's so soon after the
Yeah, that'd be
holidays.
too soon, I think.
So maybe on the 18th. That's a good idea. Let's maybe aim for that.
Okay.
It has been more difficult, obviously, than. By the way, they just finished the Newburyport master plan. And I was happy to see that it took them 3 years.
Saw that. 177 pages long.
Is that right?
Good.
Well, it's 3 times our size, so maybe 4 times. Okay. Next steps. Zoning amendments, we don't really have any, do we?
No, not really, just a couple of things. I can't remember if I mentioned this before, but Ginny's office is putting together some guidance on recreation.
Oh, yeah, you did.
And a number of towns are starting to work on moratoria. I saw there was something in the newspaper today, actually. And there were also some Mass General Law Chapter 40A amendments, I think mostly dealing with grandfathers. I need to talk with Ginny to see if any of those need to be incorporated into our zoning bylaw.
What is 48?
It's the
Enabling?
zoning, yeah.
Enabling. Okay. Okay. Financial report. Well, I now am obligated to sign Martha's timesheet. We have no idea what a silly. I know we're on TV.
Well,
I tell you, in a state that is full of dumb decisions, that is about the dumbest thing I
It
ever
is
heard.
absolutely the
It
dumbest
is stupid.
thing.
I was at the point of trying to dissolve the stormwater committee. I was so ticked off at it, just so I didn't have to go ask them, please may I do my job? Jesus Christ,
I mean, I might be here once a week, and there's no way that I know the amount of time that Martha has put in, but Tracy does, or the people that are here do, and those are the people. Anyway, I signed it. I also signed a Verizon bill, and that's it. So I guess from now on, every month I'll have to give the board a report of the things that I have signed.
Well, you got more conscientious. I have no intention of giving anyone a report, other than the location of my file drawer, if anyone really cares. Can't bother to make reports.
Liaison reports for the Board of Selectmen.
they're actually meeting tonight, so.
Really?
They are.
Like where?
They're meeting over at the fire hall, and part of it was to review fire apparatus, and then they had some liquor licenses and business license renewals and things like that.
Well, MVPC has selected Karen Conard, C-O-N-A-R-D. I thought it was Conrad. I always flip that. Who I talked to you about 3 weeks ago because I was at her interview. Well, I'm very excited to have her as the new head of executive director of the MVPC. She's right now the head of planning and community development of the city of Peabody. It actually has a larger staff there. But the thing that I was most impressed with is that she has private sector experience. She worked for an offshoot of MassWorks. I forget the name of it, for about 5 years. And MassWorks and Mass Development which is the group that's in Devon's. She worked for Paul Salucci for a while, and she worked for Governor Weld for a while. She's a Duke graduate, and very inclusive and very smart. So I think she's a good addition, and I look forward to working with her. Aside from that, the only thing I was curious about, you know, the MVPC is a pass-through for all the Sandy grant stuff. And so it's a funding vehicle. But so, for example, last month, there was considerable amount of money paid to BU and to Woods Hole. And I'm not sure if you had any idea about
I
any of
have
that
no
stuff.
thoughts of that, other than I do know that both BU and Woods Hole are working on the Great Marsh
Yeah,
area.
there's no way to
I
tell.
know they're on board, but whether we owe money or not,
And as it's just a pass-through. So it's
I
not,
have no idea.
there's no managerial responsibility, but.
I don't even know the finances of the part that I'm involved in, which is not that.
Yeah,
You know, we're in the 6 towns.
right. Anyway, so they're, I think she'll take, I think, the job in sometime in January.
That's what we heard today, that about the middle of the month,
Yeah,
they expected to see her full-time.
yeah. Concom, anything? Well, we just heard.
Nothing particular on the Concom. I got a couple of just general comments for when I'm not here any longer, which is very soon. We talk about giving stormwater issues to the Concom. I'm not sure the planning board can really do that. Let me just run through. There's 4 entities that deal with stormwater, and they all have their own responsibilities, and they don't really overlap. James maintains our stormwater system, okay? I'm responsible for the MS4 program only. I am not responsible for the enforcement or the regulation part of it, just getting the work done. The planning board is, in my opinion, responsible for the stormwater issues for any subdivision or site plan where the Concom is not involved. If the Concom is involved, they're going to do it anyway because they have to. But I think the planning board should start thinking in terms of being responsible. 2 that come to mind is this one tonight, which is, it doesn't have a wetlands component. Doug is not going to be involved in it. And fortunately, there's, you know, you can't go wrong with as little development as there is, and as big a field and as good, it's all Class A material, Group A material. And then, of course, the Conservation Commission, the other one was a church in Byfield, which is an upland job, but it did have its stormwater components. And finally, the Concom is responsible for the conforming to the Stormwater Handbook, which, according to the Wetlands Protection Act, only applies to wetlands. Our rules and regulations broaden that so that we can take the Stormwater Handbook of the state and apply it to upland. That's here, but the state doesn't allow that. I mean, the state doesn't mandate that. You can't do it unless we adopt the bylaw, which we did. And the other thing the Conservation Commission did, which we did give to them, was the enforcement and the regulations for the MS4 program. Okay, that's what we gave to the Concom. We did not give, I don't see us having given stormwater overview responsibilities for subdivisions and site plan review projects to the Conservation Commission.
I thought we did.
Well, I'm not sure you can, is my point. I think you thought you did. I think that's a true statement.
What's your recollection?
Well, I think that, you know, there may be some fuzziness because of the, you know, the stormwater regs that was given over to the
Right.
Conservation Commission.
Yeah, but we also changed the bylaw.
And we changed the bylaw to reference those.
Yes, we made them the enforcement agency.
So.
See, I don't enforce. I don't enforce and I don't regulate.
Right.
I just have work to do.
Right.
I'm just a grunt. They have the authority to assess fines, make people do things, and write regulations, which I have none. I don't have that authority.
Right. No,
Okay.
they are that body, but I think maybe it's something that we really do need to review to make sure. It's
You might
clear.
want to think about it. That's why my only point.
Right, maybe, sit down with Doug and.
Because I thought that we, in order to, I mean, my memory was, and this is 3 years ago, right?
Right, and originally the planning board was the stormwater.
Was the stormwater permitting authority, and we gave it up.
And that was given
Yeah,
over to the.
but that is
Conservation
for the
Commission.
MS4. If you read what you gave up, you will find that deals with the MS4. It does not deal with the broad problem. And I don't think we've had have we had an MS4 only project?
I don't think so.
I don't think we have, not since I've been on the board. And I don't, I think I'm gonna die before we ever have one. I don't think there's gonna be many that are, they're an acre, but yet they don't fall under somebody's jurisdiction.
Right.
We need to look at this.
I think
because
we ought to
that
think about
really
it.
is-
I don't care because I'll be gone shortly.
But it is contradictory to what I thought.
Right, and I think the fact that we incorporated the stormwater regulations by reference, I think maybe that's where, some of the confusion maybe.
That probably didn't
Right.
mention. But
Because we did, we
We did.
incorporated
Yeah.
it by reference.
Right,
Yeah.
right, because
those are the regulations, but
Right, but we eliminated the entire stormwater section of the subdivision.
yeah, which is a good thing. That was dreadful.
Right, but so you can see how you
Terrible.
think, so if you incorporate them by reference and you move them out of the subdivision regs, they say, well, we don't have any responsibility for stormwater and subdivision regs anymore because they've been moved out.
Well, no, we moved out what was there before, which worked really well in the 1920s and 30s, and brought the 2015 to 20 way of thinking into it by referencing the other document.
Right, but the other document gives the Concom
Gives the Concom responsibility.
the permitting authority, and yes, that is for MS4, but we expanded it to the entire town.
I think
So
we
Yeah,
expanded
I'm not sure the Concom, does the Concom think, I doubt if the Concom thinks they have stormwater responsibilities for upland projects.
Right, so I think we should probably have a discussion with Doug.
You might wanna
and
sort
maybe
that
with
out,
Jim
yeah.
As well, and just make sure that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we do. Because let's go back to the Borrego thing, right? We constantly kept on saying, it wasn't just that we had no stormwater responsibility, upland or lowland. didn't we?
Because
Well, you kept saying that, I'm not questioning the correctness of that position.
Well, that was only.
We
yeah, that
kept
was-
saying, and nobody argued except the neighbors. They argued with that position.
Maybe they were right.
But they argued with everything, so.
Okay, well, that's a good point.
I mean, they certainly had it for the wetland areas, but I think the assumption was that with.
What do we research to find out what happened?
Well, I think you start with Doug, just talk
Yeah,
it
I
over
think we
with
should
Doug and
talk to
sort
Doug.
it out between the
Well,
two.
but there was a document that we
boards.
had that we said, here,
Well,
there was
it was a vote of town meeting.
what did town meeting vote?
And they voted to make the change in the stormwater permitting authority, taking it from the planning board and giving it to the Concom.
Well,
So I think we probably need to review the documents.
let's review those the language in those things. You hate to have a lot of confusion. You know,
Well, as I say,
go here, go there,
makes
go
no
here, go
difference to
there.
me, because I'm not gonna be here. I will be on the Concom, but
All right,
Yeah.
I guess.
anything else?
maybe. Yeah, I just wanted to comment on, I'm Newbury's representative to the Newburyport Resiliency Committee, and things are starting to take shape. Chief Leclerc was at the last meeting, and he gave a really good talk, I thought, on the MEMA, et cetera, the requirements for the hazard mitigation plan. Basically, no mention of a problem in the hazard mitigation plan. This is what he was saying, which I didn't realize. If you want federal money, you better have it mentioned in your plan or you don't get any money.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure you knew that,
Yeah,
but
yeah. No, Joe.
I did not.
Yeah, no, Joe made that very clear when we were doing it.
Yeah.
The regional plan with MVPC said, and the other people, the reviewers from MEMA said, if it's not in the plan, you're not gonna get money for it.
Right.
So,
So maybe we should keep pushing Tracy to make something happen as far as a permanent group. And the last time we talked on the subject, Jeff made the very good point, the selectmen come and go, so we really ought to have it as a paid staff position.
right, and
not-
my suggestion was to make that permanent group the same as our hazard mitigation.
Exactly, and I thought that was a
plan.
terrific one, and that is, Mike is the key guy on that, is he?
Well, he is our key emergency management
Right.
director.
Yeah, a new report is the fire department, it's gotta be one or the other, I would think.
Right, so
You know.
here it's Mike, but our group included, Deb representing health and Doug and
Sure,
Sam.
all the usual
Fire.
suspects, yeah. Yeah, but I think that, maybe that should be reviewed with a view to sea level rise risks. That, I know there was some element of that before, I don't remember and I didn't look it up, but is that mentioned very much?
I put, things in our plan, well, referencing the coastal resiliency
The
stuff.
coastal
that we're
stuff,
doing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's covered at
Right,
least for the
and-
moment.
And some of the specific recommendations as we knew them at the time.
Yeah, yeah.
The Bruce Tar meeting this Friday.
sorry?
The Bruce Tar meeting
Yes,
this Friday?
is that.
Is that.
That subject, exactly, yeah, and that's good, I think that's gonna be an interesting meeting. But I would suggest that, the Sandy Grant study is, I think is excellent, it's given us a lot of things to think about that at least had never occurred to me, and I don't think it occurred to other people either. But it is not all inclusive. It doesn't, to my way of thinking, function as what the town needs for a resiliency plan. It's gotta be way more detailed than the Sandy Grant, it's gotta cover more things. Sandy Grant dealt with 4 problems. Plum Island, Pine Island, the Turnpike, the highway on Route 1 by Parker River, the Newbury Elementary School being semi-inaccessible and having other issues like sewage and so forth if there's no power.
Yeah, it's not that, you're right.
Not a good place to be storing people. But that's it. It doesn't cover groundwater tables that pull propane tanks out of the ground, doesn't cover salinization of wells, just a no end of things it doesn't cover, simply because that was by design. They focused on what appeared to be the most important thing.
And so they did that for each one of the towns?
For all 6 towns, yes. And each of the 6 towns picked, the team helped pick the 4 biggest items, or in their opinion, the 4 biggest items. And we've probably got a dozen or more items that we got 4 of them. The last one was the sewer system of Plum Island, that I mentioned.
Okay.
So major vulnerability. But I just wanted to throw that out.
All right. Anything else for the good of the cause?
Well, concerning the Conservation Committee, I have volunteered to take your place.
Yes.
I've scheduled a meeting with Doug Packer.
Oh, well,
And I would
not
like to-
necessarily take my, have you talked to Doug?
No,
No, that's right.
You're going to?
tomorrow.
Oh, you got a meeting with him tomorrow. I am not resigning from the Concom unless there are not enough spaces, in which case I will resign in your favor. Is that okay? Because I got still three more years of term. I was appointed. Nobody asked me if I wanted to be reappointed, but I was.
I don't want to drive you out.
No, well,
He's the planning
it has
board
to,
member.
there's gotta be a planning board member on the
But
Concom.
he's not on the planning
And
board. He
I'm
can't
the
be.
logical
Well,
one
they
to
can- They
leave,
can appoint him
okay?
as a non-planning.
So-
As a non-planning board member.
Yeah, it's
but
really-
we
it's
can still have our own.
independent. It's really independent of me.
Well, you're gonna be representing the planning
Yeah.
board.
but
Right,
Your situation.
and John just stays
is a
as
separate
a
issue. Yeah.
Concom member.
I'm gonna stay as a Concom member unless there's too many people, and I don't
Okay.
think there are.
Right, I think the one thing though, you may need to be reappointed because right now you're appointed as a planning board member, so your status.
Oh,
you might
really?
have to be
Okay, I gotta
reappointed
have
as
a new
general
name,
member.
a new title?
Maybe, I'm not,
Well,
I'm not sure, but I think that's how you're designated right now. So then, Jim would be appointed as the planning board member, and you would be.
He'd be the
a
planning
gen-
board representative,
and-
yeah.
Well, he's not a representative, he is a member of the conservation, it's not a representative.
Oh, yeah, but there's gotta be somebody from the planning board
Right.
on the Concom as a
That's right,
Concom
as a
member.
voting member. Yeah.
And he is it,
And,
Right.
and so he would be it, so you would need to be appointed as a regular member.
yeah.
Have we done that? I thought we rescinded that.
Yeah, I had a conflict that
It was-
they set different meeting on the same night, and that changed, so.
Oh, good.
Here's all the,
All right.
Right, but I think, yeah, so the board would need to vote again, but probably not until
John's
John
gone.
resigns.
Until I go, which will be as soon as we finish,
January.
yeah, probably the January.
the two public hearings.
Whenever the hearing for High Road closes,
Right.
that will be when, sure.
What about the
Yeah,
one
the Angelo.
for Angelo?
Angelo,
That's a little different, yeah, I probably should stay. As much as I've been flapping my gums, I probably should stay for that one, shouldn't I?
I mean, hopefully that'll be done.
About the same, one more meeting, yeah.
all right. ZBA report?
CBA report, this is on the November 17th meeting. A fellow named Jeffrey Christensen, covering property at 14 Plum Island Boulevard, formerly Mr. Mose,
Yeah.
requesting the finding to change pre-existing non-conforming use. The existing liquor store will remain the same. The rear half of the former apartment that he lived in on the other side, and next to the liquor store, will become a surf shop. And the front half of the apartment area to become an ice cream shop with outside at window sales only. The information he provided was a little short on complete information and short on plans, so he'd be following up on that. Richard Port of 2 Island Lane objected because of potential congestion and narrowing access to Island Lane, which goes to the right of Mr. Mose. It goes right through the parking lot. Next one was William Barrett, property at 335th Street, to raise the present structure and replace with a 2-story, 3-bedroom home. That was approved, subject to approval of Board of Selectmen and Concom to be submitted to ZBA. The other one, George Kokoris, the property at 2 Northern Boulevard, the proposed ice cream stand at the Island Center.
The old Marie's, or whatever it was?
Jeans.
Jeans.
James. The board reviewed and approved the agreement between Coloris and his neighbor, Ray, parking in the way between their properties and related easement. There's parking for about 6 cars, the neighbor's guaranteed 1, and the park.
Which neighbor, the one right next to it?
Right next door, yeah,
Yeah.
right next door, so that was very nice.
Good.
So what do you think, does that look like it's going to go forward? Or?
Well, he comes in, there's an element each time that hasn't been very comprehensive, so I think people are trying to get that to become a little more comprehensive so the thing can get done.
How
Yeah.
many spaces is he required to have under zoning?
I'm not really sure, but he has 5 on that strip,
He does have some.
doubled up 5, and then there's more parking available in front of the building once they clear off the sand and so on, but I'm not really sure what's required.
There's 5 of the, those are town spaces. No?
But it's in a private way, isn't it?
Well, are you talking about right at the center? The ones
Yeah.
that are designated for resident parking only?
Yeah.
And that's
No,
town?
no, this is, yeah, I'm talking about in front of the building, but
Oh.
not on the street.
Oh, okay.
That's where
okay,
the old parking used to be,
Okay.
and it's been covered over with sand and weeds and so on.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, on the other.
So right in front of it?
Dead front of it,
Okay.
yeah. And then there was review of, well, Susan prepared a new application, a revised one, much more complete, and that was put off for review, but it was not done, and then questions again about when we might be able to meet for our joint discussion to discuss the zoning proposals. We want to make it easier for the ZBA to do their function.
What I'm a bit confused, I'm not exactly sure what that means.
Well-
What do they want?
They want to get together to discuss some changes they think ought to be made to the IOD.
In addition to the building height?
Yeah,
Really?
There's
So
some
the-
definitional issues, I'll talk with Eric and get more
Well,
details.
let's find out what those are, and then we can do a meeting in like February or something.
Okay.
Okay. Any word from anybody on what's going on with the Plum Island Grill? Does that sale happen? Anybody know?
Mark is still listed as
As the owner?
on
Yeah.
the website. So I don't know what's happening there.
Yeah. Okay.
George, one question on the Bill Barrett bill, 31st Street. What approval was needed from the BLS on that?
Was there a special, I don't know, that was the condition.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah,
I can check with Susan on that.
Okay, how about a motion to adjourn? Second.
Second.
All those in favor?